Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to another episode of Termite's Buzz, a weekly video game podcast where me, your host Termite, running through things that I'm playing, currently experiencing, trophies that I'm hunting, current news in the video game industry, and always ending with some discussion about retro gaming, because that is one of my passions. I am your host, Termite. Thank you for joining me again. Weekly podcasts go live Monday at midnight. You can find all of those at 80bitpodsmash.com. Why the different domain from the name of the show? Well, this is I'm one of two hosts of 80-Bit Podsmash, Penguin and Termite. We had a weekly video game podcast where gaming goes to grab a beer, and that podcast took a hiatus. In lieu of those episodes dropping and me and Penguin doing our weekly recordings, here I am, Termite, doing a solo gig. So I'm doing Termite's Buzz every single week, again, Monday at midnight. If you like the show, you want to provide feedback, thoughts, questions, concerns, and ideas, you can react to the show. You can provide all of those things over at 80bitpodsmash.com. There's a link tree with links to all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, and Discord. There's a Discord server, and we talk actively there. So please go do that and go hang out with us in the community. And if you're finding us by way of YouTube or some of the video, like Twitch or something, and you want to know more about our audio platforms, we're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and you can find all those links as well over at 80-Bit Podsmash. Now that I got that all out of the way, I hope to find you well. I am recording on the weekend of Easter. It's the end of spring break. I'm kind of burnt out a little. It's been a long week. I've had the kids home. We've had a lot of traveling. We've gone up to Washington, D.C. We've gone up to Fredericksburg. I live in the Charlottesville area of Virginia. So it's been a lot of driving, a lot of traveling, a lot of good times. But I'm just tired I'm not sleepy. I'm not physically tired. But I'm just tired of spring break. So I'm ready for the regular churn of events, of things to quiet down and school to go back and get our rhythm back and get back on track. It's been a good break, but I'm ready to get back to it. You know how sometimes at the end of a vacation, you just want to get back to normal. That's the whole point of vacation, right? Experience something new, relax, take a break, but you want to get back to it. You got to get back to the grind, the regular life that we live of work and running and people and I don't even know, whatever y'all do. I have no clue what y'all do, but you can tell me. So what am I playing? I'm still drudging through Hogwarts Legacy. It has its up and downs. The story is good. It's fine. I haven't finished the main story yet because I'm constantly doing side quests that are ranging from I don't give a crap, I have a podcast on, to this is actually a really good side quest. And sometimes I'm missing things I don't really care about. It's not super engaging and gripping. And this is just a me thing. This is not a detriment to the game itself. The game is not boring. I think it's a great game. I had to do my own review and whatever you want to call I'm playing on the easiest difficulty, so I don't really care about the nuances of combat, but there's a big variation in spells, and I think I've gone on about this. I play it all the time. I talk about this every week. I'm just tired of it, but I'm playing it because I bought it, and I don't feel like sinking money into increasing my backlog more, and I'm just trying to get through this game. I had this ambitious goal to get 2 platinums a year, or 2 platinums a month for the whole year, that I've done for the last 2 years. This will be the third year in a row, and Hogwarts is really throwing a wedge into my platinum rate. And I know that with bigger games coming like Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, and Zelda, Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom, whatever you want to call it, those games are going to be big, and Zelda's going to take me away from PlayStation altogether, but Diablo 4 and Final Fantasy 16, of course, are huge games that I will not be able to platinum with any relevant speed. So my platinum rate is tanked. I got to figure out what I want to do. Maybe take a break from Hogwarts and go find some smaller, more achievable platinum trophies to kind of bolster my numbers. I refuse to do the Ratalika Games or that's a publishing company that pushes out these dumb $1 to $5 easy to get platinums within 10 minutes. I'm not going to do that. My Name is Mayo is another example of those kind of silly games that I don't do that. Platinum games that I actually want to play, stuff that's I'm hearing buzz about in the industry. And I've got two games that I could jump into, I think, and get some platinum trophies that are quick. And that is Toem, which was a PS5 or PSN Plus game a few months back. And I don't really know a whole lot about it. I just heard some buzz when it came out that it was actually good. And then What Remains of Edith Finch, the PlayStation 5 version, is dropped. And I've played through it already on PS4 and got that platinum, so I could do it again on the native PS5 version and get that. So I might do those just to bolster. I'm still woefully behind. I should have 6 platinums right now, and I have 4. So those 2 that I just mentioned would bring me up to speed through March, but I'm still 2 behind for April. So who knows? I just a lot going on, and I'll get into the PlayStation 3 thing at the end of the show when I get to my retro section. So that's what I'm playing. I also kicked up, just for funsies, Minecraft Dungeons, because it was a PlayStation Plus offering, I think, last month with my 7-year-old. And it was a chance to play co-op in more of a RPG, action RPG kind of game. We've done games in the years past of co-op games and playing games together, Mario Kart and competitive things, Mario Party, like those kinds of things. We play Splatoon together regularly as it is already. So we added Minecraft Dungeons to the mix, which is very much like Diablo clone, essentially. But it's all in the Minecraft world, and of course it's ridden with all kinds of cosmetics and gear and the upgrade systems, and the touches lightly in the microtransaction world, but it's fine. So playing a game like that requires some sort of communication and working together, with my 7-year-old, he just wants to do his own thing. He runs ahead constantly. He picks up everything. He has zero concept of working together as a team. So it was minorly frustrating to constantly remind him, stay with me. We need to work together. And of course, like a big tough enemy comes, and he just runs away because he doesn't want to die and leaves me alone. And like he's moving the screen, so it's couch co-op, and the screen doesn't split. So like wherever when they separate, it blocks both characters, and eventually one will teleport to the other. But if you don't move cohesively, like it's you can't maneuver in a battlefield. So like these bosses were kicking our tail, and we kept dying. You have like a revival mechanic where you die and the other person has to come to you and hold X. All the while there's a countdown timer for like 30 seconds or you both die. And so if I die first, I'm toast. Like he doesn't try much to like come over and revive me. And if he does, he doesn't really pay attention to the enemies around. He's just like single task focused. He comes in and tries to revive me, and then he gets knocked out. So it's a weird experience to play a game like that with your 7-year-old son or daughter. I have a son. So whichever child you have to play Minecraft Dungeons with, it is suited for, I think it's a great age for 7, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. I think 6 would be a little too young. But just know that no strategy at all. It's just gameplay for them. They just want to whack things with a stick. They want the strongest weapons, the strongest spells. They want everything. They don't want to die or lose. And I'm completely projecting all of my child's behaviors onto everyone, and that's not true. So maybe your kid is better, or your nephew, or whoever you're playing with. The child you were playing with is better suited for strategy than mine. But he is hilariously not strategy-minded at all, or not team-minded at all. And so I have to constantly remind him, hold his hand a little bit. But it's fun. It's a good game. I actually kind of want to keep playing it. I might actually get that platinum. I see it's like 15 hours, which isn't too bad. And the trophy list itself doesn't seem to have any sort of egregious pain in the butt. So, yeah, I might do that. And as I mentioned, it's spring break, so we did some other activities this week. And another one of those things was to go see the Super Mario movie. I took Sam, and my son, and his friends. There was a good party size of 11 of us, 5 adults, 6 kids, all to go see the Super Mario movie. And oh my gosh, do not listen to critics. Don't take any movie critic article seriously about this movie, because if you're a gamer and you're listening to this show, this movie's for you. This is Nintendo and Illumination have worked together to create an amazing, hilarious, super positive, upbeat, wonderful story that's just completely like hitting all the feels of playing Mario. All the little Easter eggs, all the little references, all the little quips, the quotes, everything pays homage to some Mario title of the past, but also giving you something unique and new. There's a little bit of differences, like there's no more damsel in distress here. Peach is amazing in the movie. Jack Black as Bowser is phenomenal, and he's got this awesome musical number, if you haven't seen it already. And he does a fantastic job. Keegan-Michael Key is Toad. Everyone was amazing. The only one who was just like flatline, like I don't really care about, was Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, but whatever. You go to Kong Island, I'm not spoiling anything, I'm not going to. Everything you see from the trailers. The Mario Kart section, just everything. The soundtrack is on Spotify. Don't watch the song, don't look at the song titles if you care about spoilers at all, but whatever. The soundtrack is amazing. There's like all these little cool samples of various games, like from Mario Kart, from Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong 64, the original Super Nintendo Mario Kart. There's a little blip of music in there from that. Of course, you have like the new Super Mario Bros. Theme song, and you have Battlefield Bomba or Bomba on Battlefield from Mario 64. I mean, it's so cool. It's such a good, lighthearted story with a great ending, and everything just wrapped up nicely, and it's really, really cool. So that's kind of like my review of the movie without going too much into details. If anyone has any interest in wanting to know like a spoiler cast, I would love to talk about it more in detail. I'd love to actually walk through the story and why I care about it and how cool it is. But I do want to stay out of spoiler territory because it's still kind of new. And I also want a chance to go see it again. So I have Movie Pass because the company came back. They revived. The same CEO is doing the same dumb thing he's done before. And and I bought in like an idiot. So I understand how volatile that is and why that might be wasting money, but I used it to watch Dungeons and Dragons as well, and that movie was amazing and flawless. Not for me, but it was awesome. I thought it was a little slow to get started, but once it got going, I was hooked. I was in. Ridiculous amounts of D&D references, and then the payoff was absolutely phenomenal. The ending almost made me weep. Like, I was holding back tears. I probably shouldn't have even held them back, should have just let it out. But fantastic story there. But all of that to say is I'll use the Movie Pass to go back and see the Super Mario movie again. And I'm actually going to talk about Mario in my retro section because it just like made me want to play all of Mario all over again, like as a kid, right there in the theater. I'm just like, I would need to go home and play all of Mario because it was so, so good and so true to form. And it's awesome to see video game movies finally hitting a stride. Video game shows. I mean, we had the Uncharted movie from PlayStation. We had the Last of Us HBO show, and now the Super Mario movie kind of being the more recent adaptations. And they're all really, really good. Uncharted being the worst of the three I just mentioned, and it's awesome. So it's great to see Dungeons & Dragons video game content kind of rising to the crop. If you are Penguin listening to this, or if you are Ryan, friend of the show, you'll know that we just had a text conversation about this, but it's interesting to see that there's nerd content coming out that is doing exceptionally well. The Super Mario movie is setting records for like the most money grossed in an animated movie. It's already surpassed Sonic the Hedgehog. It's surpassing Frozen 2. So it's hitting, and it's cool to see like nerd content being received extremely well, and the nerd content itself is actually ridiculously good. That's not related to superheroes. Like, I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I have seen every single movie and show in the Marvel Cinematic Universe except for the newest Ant-Man. As soon as that hits Disney Plus, I will check that box. But I have seen and caught up all of it my whole life, and I understand how amazing it was. Its ebbs and flows. And there's the movie rankings of like 30 movies long. I never connected with any of the DC movies, but I know they're all there. Wonder Woman was pretty cool. The Batman movies, Joker, like there's the spin-off Spider-Man movies. I actually haven't seen those because they're not Marvel Cinematic Universe canon, but like there's so many superhero movies, so many. So it's like Oscar bait, superhero movies, and then like random kids movies. And then on the side, you've got like Disney doing their thing. And they're kind of their own, any original content from Pixar or Disney is usually really good. But it's not like nerd content. It's just like new original stuff. And so they're always going to be there. It's always good. But of those like big columns, there's never been a space for video game, Dungeons and Dragons, high fantasy that does really, really well. And I'm here for it. It's awesome. I'm excited about it. And I'm glad that this movie did so much money, and it's making waves in the universe of content in the movie world. Clearly, there'll be a sequel if they want to make more money. Why not? There is an end credit scene, so go check that out. Well, it's like a mid credit scene, so you'll see a bunch of credits and then this scene, and then you can go home. So that's cool, and hopefully there'll be more video game content. Like, as this stuff does well, it reviews well, and it gets reception, and it makes money, it will bleed to more. So who knows what else we'll see. The only fear and concern I have is that I've noticed, Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, has been gone from the video game world for the last 5 or 6 years. And if you follow him, you'll know that he put all of his creative efforts into the Super Nintendo world out in Japan and California. Now they're both open, and they're breaking ground on that in Florida now. So the Super Nintendo World theme park area, and it has like a Mario Kart ride. if you see the Super Mario movie, the Mushroom Kingdom in the movie looks exactly like the one in the theme park, so you can see the trend. And then the Mario Kart scene, Mario's cart looks exactly like the carts you ride in the theme park. So my fear now is that the next Mario Kart or the next Mario game is going to be in a similar vein as those to kind of tie it all together, and I don't like that. So I like things drawing from the video game, as the video game is the source material. I don't want video games to match marketing and branding of some real-world theme park or movie. I don't want it to go the other way. I want the next Mario game to be something truly unique and original, like Mario Odyssey was. I want the next Mario Kart to be absolutely incredible, unique, and amazing, like Mario Kart 8 was. So I hope that I kind of got that back in the back of my head, kind of good, marketing, branding, kind of negative capitalism vibe a little bit, just by how similar the movie world of Mushroom Kingdom and the Super Nintendo world Mushroom Kingdom look, and then the Mario Kart ride as being the big coaster, the big attraction at the theme park. It looks exactly like how they showed it off in the movie. And I know they're making the Donkey Kong world as the first expansion. I think it's been announced. There's a Donkey Kong world being added, and of course they go to the Kong world in the movie, so there you go. They're clearly doing this whole theme park Hollywood thing together, and I just don't want that to affect the next games. I don't want the next Donkey Kong game to be related to that either. I want that to be truly unique and really cool. Donkey Kong Country Returns Tropical Freeze was the last Donkey Kong game. It's the newest one, and it was made by Retro Studios, who's now working on Metroid Prime 4, so who knows what's going on with Donkey Kong as a video game IP right now. We don't know. So, that was cool. We had a great time. My son loved the movie. I'm going to go back and see it a second time using MoviePass, as I mentioned earlier, and I will probably update y'all on what it's like to see it again, because movies are entirely different when you watch them a second time than the first, because you know what's coming, you've experienced it all before, but you also catch new things, new nuances. The pacing feels different when you watch it again a second time, because you kind of know what to expect. So, really, really, really cool. Spoiler cast if you want it. I will go into more details about the story and the quotes and quips and references and Easter eggs and all that if you would like. But y'all have to let me know. Y'all are in the driver's seat of that one. So I guess we'll jump into some gaming industry news. It's actually kind of a light news week. Not a whole lot has happened. But the biggest thing I see making the waves is there's apparently, according to Insider Gaming, a new Sony handheld being developed. So I will read from what I think is the primary source, and that is an article over at Insider Gaming. Exclusive, Sony's next PlayStation handheld. Following the days of speculation, Insider Gaming can report that there's a new PlayStation handheld in development. Codenamed the Q Lite, the next PlayStation handheld is the next piece of Sony hardware that aims to be yet another piece of hardware that requires the PlayStation 5. Insider Gaming understands that the Q Lite is not a cloud streaming device, but instead uses remote play with the PlayStation 5, a feature the console giant has been pushing these past couple of weeks. Sidebar, if you notice, there was a random PlayStation remote play video from PlayStation's official YouTube channel, just posted on YouTube for some reason, advertising the power of PS remote play. Anyway, this device will sport adaptive streaming up to 1080p and 60 frames per second. The new device will require constant connectivity to the internet. As for the console's physical features, early prototypes show the console will work a lot like the PlayStation 5 controller, but with a massive 8-inch LCD touchscreen in the center. For comparison's sake, the Nintendo Switch, not the OLED, has a 6.2-inch screen. The OLED Switch is a 7-inch screen, and an iPhone 14 Pro Max is a 6.69-inch screen. So this is an 8-inch one, so it's huge. Just so you know, it's going to be big. The device sports adaptive triggers for haptic feedback and will include what you would come to expect from a handheld: volume buttons, speakers, audio input jack, etc. Insider Gaming understands that the Q Lite is in its QA, that's quality assurance phase, and is scheduled to release before the PlayStation 5 Pro and after the detachable disk drive PlayStation 5. As previously mentioned by industry insider Jeff Grubb, Sony is planning to announce its, quote, second phase of PS5, which is in reference to its future game slate. Ironically, though, this, quote, second phase is very much true for Sony's hardware offerings with the new detachable disk drive PlayStation 5, Project Nomad, which are these new wireless earbuds, Project Voyager, which is a new wireless headset, and this Q Lite handheld, all scheduled to release within a very short period. It's understood that the PlayStation 5 Pro is aiming for a holiday 2024 release. So whenever Sony's next PlayStation showcase will be, it's seemingly going to be a big one. Now, if you go back to last week, Termite's Buzz, episode 12, I kind of went on a rant about the PlayStation 5 Pro and how 2024 holiday is ridiculous, and it's probably not true. Not going to happen. Big grain of salt with that. All of this is also rumor mill. Like, this is all inside. Insider Gaming is a website. Of course, they have the exclusive on this, so they have enough sources to actually make it an article and not call it a rumor, but it's not set in stone. None of this stuff is officially announced by Sony yet. It's all just industry speculation and from whatever inside sources they have, hence the name of the website, Insider Gaming. So, wow. I mean, a new handheld from Sony? That sounds exciting. But don't we already have this thing that you can buy and attach it to your phone for remote play? Is there really space for this? I forgot what the phone attachment is called. I'm going to look it up. Phone attachment, PlayStation remote play. Backbone. That's what it's called. And I heard that there was a Backbone released for Android because originally it was just iPhones. So we have a Backbone already. We have a phone already. You have a PC, you have your laptop, a tablet. You can get PlayStation Remote Play, PS on all these other things. So I don't understand why they would do a dedicated handheld, especially after the failure of the Vita. Vita died. They did not support it. There was apparently from what I remember, the main reason why Sony wanted to can the Vita and get it out was after that big giant PlayStation Network hack of 2011 when Portal 2 had just come out and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 had just come out. There was a month-long outage of the PlayStation Network where no one could use it because there was a huge hack, a security breach, and all of his customer information was leaked. And apparently after that, Sony was so tight-lipped and scared, quote-unquote scared about security that the Vita was just a risk for them. And so after numerous firmware patches to make it more secure, they just wanted it to go away. I don't know if that's true or not. That's speculation. But the Vita and the PlayStation 3 had a really cool interface to interact with each other. You could hook the Vita up to the PlayStation 3 and transfer games and content between the two. So you could download them on your console, which was, at the time, most people's video game consoles were hardwired into their internet at home, where the Vita would be on the go, and there was a cell phone service version of it. So if you wanted to download a game, you would want to do that on your console at home, because theoretically the internet would be faster, and then you could transfer it by USB cable to your Vita, and that would be the fastest way to download games. You could also transfer storage or content, the Vita had cameras, you could take pictures of things out in the world and transfer them to your PlayStation 3 and do a bunch of cool stuff. Anyway, this whole handheld, if this is true, what this Q Lite is today with the PlayStation 5, you're not getting any of that. All this is just some device that has to have an internet connection. So we don't know any details about, will it have a cell phone connection service or cell phone service connection? How reliable is, streaming is not great. Remote play works really well if you have your PlayStation hooked up to a hardwire. And even better if you have the device that you're streaming from hooked up to a hardwire. When the pandemic had hit and my work at home was forced upon me and I didn't really have a chance to set my house up properly, I had my PS4 Pro and my desktop PC both hardwired in to the same network. And remote play was awesome. It was a godsend. I could play from my office without having to go interrupt my family's world whenever I had a break. I could sit over lunch and play a game. And I did. I used that. But home here in my new house where I live now, I don't have I don't have a wire running up to my PlayStation 5, so it's wireless. So remote play is nowhere near as good. I don't even use it. It's pointless because it's so bad. So I don't understand how they're going to do this with a handheld. And I have 400 to 500 megabit per second internet. So it's ridiculously fast internet. And yeah, I have the Google Wi-Fi mesh router system. It's not Wi-Fi 6, but it's the one right before that. So it's strong, it's powerful, it's fast. I can get all those speeds. I can get up 200 megabits per second on my phone. I don't know what the speed rating is on my actual PS5, but it's up there. And downloads are very fast, and remote play is still trash. So I don't understand how this handheld is going to work. I don't get it. I don't know if they're going to introduce some sort of new compression technology to like make it more responsive. I have no clue. I don't think this is a good move from Sony. I don't think there's a good market for this. And to put actual R&D efforts into such a device, I think is a risk and kind of wasteful. They could be doing other things with that time and money, but who knows? I will probably buy one if it's not stupid expensive, especially if there is something like new that they bring to the table. I'm just a hardware junkie and got to have that. So I don't know. I haven't really talked about this detachable disk drive PlayStation 5, but apparently they're making some sort of attachment that you can buy separately from the digital-only PlayStation 5 to make so you could use the discs for it. So if you've already committed to a PS5 at the $400 level, it doesn't have a disk drive, and you want one, you could go buy this disc attachment, and I guess over USB-C, you could have games read from the CD that you would have. That's not been officially announced or showcased, but apparently that's like really soon. And so, this handheld is supposed to be after this disc drive detachable thing, but before the PlayStation 5 Pro, which I don't even think we're going to see for another 3 years. So who knows what all this will actually come to. But I think the most interesting point of this entire article was this whole idea of a, quote, second phase of PlayStation 5. So we haven't, and it goes back to my conversation I had last week about the PlayStation 5 Pro, is that we haven't even seen games use the PlayStation 5 to its like capabilities, right? We're seeing all these cross-gen games. I mean, like Returnal is pretty much the closest thing you get to a genuine PlayStation 5 experience, because both Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok were cross-platform generation games, so you can play them on your PlayStation 4. Now, there is DLC coming this month for Horizon Forbidden West that is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. Final Fantasy 16 is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, and we know it's going to have like a 60 frames per second mode. So we're starting to like get our feet wet with actual PlayStation 5 only content. And that makes sense from a business perspective because you have an install base of over 100 million PlayStation 4s. You'd be leaving them all behind if you make a PlayStation 5 exclusive game, but you also want to drive people to the new platform. So you want to support the PlayStation 5. So this second phase makes perfect sense. Like we're still in the first phase, the first 2 years. We're in the third year of its existence. It hit the 2-year anniversary mark back in November. So I like this whole second phase. And supposedly there's rumors that there will be a big giant PlayStation showcase around June timeframe before E3 would have happened. The E3 was canceled, so we'll probably still get that. And I know there's like a few games like The Last Ronin and Stellar Blade that were showcased in previous state of plays or whatever you want to call them. And so like I want to see more of those. And it makes sense that Sony would have this whole line of hardware, like let's refresh the headphones, let's create wireless earbuds, and if you're going to make a portable handheld that remote plays to your PlayStation 5 at home, I guess wireless earbuds make sense because you kind of want to have like a low profile on the go, but that doesn't answer the question about internet connectivity and whether or not it has its own, who knows. They tried that with the Vita. It didn't work well. It was slow, and you couldn't play games like actively online with it. So it's all kind of weird future with PlayStation, but I'm excited because whatever the state of play is, like I'm here for it. I can't wait for that. I want to see what's coming. I want to see the new games. We know we just had the PlayStation Edge, PlayStation DualSense Edge controller just dropped a few months ago for like the premium controller experience that was a competitor to Microsoft, who had the whatever they have. They have a pro kind of controller. I forget what it's called, but so it's neat. All cool things, I guess, if you're into any of those. I want to know. I want to know if that interests you or not. Talk a lot. I could take a breath. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to slow down. Continuing on the Sony talk, there has been an update to the PlayStation 5 console, and I'm going to read right from the PlayStation blog. Accessibility tags roll out this week on PlayStation Store on the PlayStation 5 console. And so this is from Hideaki Nishino. Sorry, I don't know Japanese names. I hate not knowing how to pronounce people's names. Senior Vice President, Platform Experience of Sony Interactive Entertainment. That's who wrote this. As we strive to make gaming more accessible for all players, today we're excited to announce that accessibility tags are rolling out globally this week on PlayStation Store on the PlayStation 5 console. Accessibility tags allow game developers to provide detailed insight on accessibility features supported in their games. As you browse various game hubs on the PlayStation Store, game hubs on PS5, you'll see a list of accessibility features by pressing the triangle button if the game you select supports accessibility tags. These can range from visual and audio accessibility settings to DualSense controller options, difficulty settings, and online communication features like chat transcriptions. Accessibility tags will be available for PS4 and PS5 games on the PlayStation Store on PS5. If both PS5 and PS4 platform versions are available, you can compare the accessibility tags for each through a drop-down menu. With accessibility tags, you'll be able to easily see if the game you want to play features the accessibility options you're looking for. Here's a sampling of the more than 50 accessibility tags available for game developers to choose from across 6 categories. There's actually descriptions here, but I'm not going to jump into descriptions because I'm about done reading. Visual, audio, subtitle and captions, control options, gameplay options such as difficulties, skippable puzzles, simplified QuickTime events, game speed, online communication. So those are the kind of things you can see now from the store, which is awesome. Usually you have to rely on reviews. You have to wait for the review embargo to lift. And theoretically, if this is in the PlayStation Store, you should be able to see these things the moment the game goes live for pre-orders, which is way before the review embargo sometimes. So it's really awesome to be able to assess which games you want to play, what modes they have. For me, who doesn't require accessibility options, I think this is really good to be able to predict the possibilities of trophy difficulty or what kind of game I'm looking at. Like if I see an Elden Ring drop and I look at its accessibility and all I see are subtitles and that's it. And then you look at Ghost of Tsushima that has a ton of different tweaks and nuances to how strong the enemies are, to how fluid the combat is, and then you look at God of War, and it's you have quick time events you can hold, or you can quick solve puzzles in an Uncharted game. It gives you a good sense for what to expect for the game. But those who do require accessibility options, this is amazing to be able to assess a video game before having to rely on the game of telephone through a pundit. That's either a podcaster or a reviewer or a video game journalist website or a first-party PlayStation blog post. You don't have to go through waiting. You can just see it directly from the source. So that's really cool. I'm glad they did this. It's a small move. I'm making a mountain out of this tiny anthill, but I think this is great. It's just something that does support accessibility across gaming, and I want everyone to be able to game however they want, wherever they want, on whatever platform they want, because video games are awesome, and we need to support this more. So I am all for it. That's why I'm calling it out on my show. I absolutely love accessibility options being available on the PlayStation Store. I haven't actually checked this out yet because I've been on spring break, and I've been super busy, and I haven't really had time to go play around on my PlayStation this week. So I haven't looked at it myself, but I can't wait to do that, because I am. I'm going to go look at some pre-ordered games on my wish list and check it out. The last little bit of news I will talk about here is another small story, but Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters, the Switch and PS4 release dates are announced. This is by Adam Bankhurst over at IGN. Square Enix has confirmed that the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters, which are essentially upgraded versions of Final Fantasy 1 through 6, will be released on Nintendo Switch and PS4 on April 19th, 2023. The Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters are currently available on PC and mobile, and soon a new audience will be able to experience much of the history of the Final Fantasy franchise in a new way. That's cool. We got a release date and an update on the console versions. That's not what I'm excited about. What I'm about to read next is what Termite is the most excited about, and I'm using that word because the article does. So here I go. If that wasn't exciting enough, these versions come with a new pixel font. They fixed the fonts. The Pixel Remasters on PC and cell phones were awful because they had these stupid-looking flat fonts that didn't fit the game at all. And now they fixed it. They finally listened. Square Enix is listening to their audience. They fixed it. They added the new pixel font, which seems to address one of the biggest issues fans had with the games when they were first released. There will also be a new option to switch between the original and new background music. So you get the new symphony, orchestrated, modern high-fidelity stuff, or you can switch to the old school, which is awesome. There are more options to adjust the rate of encounters of random enemies. You can adjust how fast you level up, how much gil you get, and ABP. I don't know what ABP is. All 6 games will be available on April 19th at Eastern Time. Will be 11 a.m. and fans will be able to purchase them individually or as a complete package. On the eShop, the games range from $11 to $18 per game, or you can get all 6 of them for $75. This is awesome. I'm so excited. When the Pixel remasters were first unveiled, 1, disappointed that it was mobile and PC only because no trophies. 2, the fonts were awful. 3, there was no gameplay enhancements to get through some of the more grindy things. So let's rewind the clocks, kids, all the way back to the 90s when video games came out. They had a tiny development studio. There were way fewer people working on these games, so they were nowhere near as big. And so in order to get a full big game content worth of time out of a game, they being game developers, especially in these big Japanese RPGs, would build in padding and time spent doing stuff like grinding. And so the encounter rate was crazy, and you would have to level up and just run in circles to empower your party to get over tough bosses, and that would pad the game and make it take 30 to 40 hours to beat when you really only have a 5 to 12 hour story. And I'm just pulling those numbers out as an example. Those aren't real reflective numbers of what the story of the original Final Fantasy games were, but those were signs of a different time. Those were what gaming was like. That was how gaming was in the 90s. In order to have a really long game, we don't have the budgets we have today. We don't have the 400 developers, artists and writers and fully blown orchestrated music set pieces, but all those games did age really well, so that's really cool because they're still super fun to play, and you should definitely go check it out. I have a video game collection here, and I wouldn't say all, but I have a ton of Japanese RPGs for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, and those games are really hard. I mean, they're easy on the eyes as far as they age well, right? You can play them as if you were playing a modern game today, but we have so much better quality of life in our games now for modern audiences and stuff that we've learned from the past to make the player's life easy, stuff to get out of the player's way. So when you go back to those old games, it's just really obtuse. You have to grind. It's so much fighting, and it takes so long to get through things. You can't skip things. It's just sometimes the rate at which you level up is really slow, so it takes a while. But anyway, all of this stuff is now removed. And if you played the Final Fantasy 7, 8, or 9 that is on the PlayStation Store now, the ports from the original, they have the fast forward. They have you can do 4/9 damage all the time. In Final Fantasy 7, you can have constant limit breaks turned on. They don't affect trophies at all. So it just helps you get through. So you can just get the story. You can just get the content of the game without any of the extra bloat. Totally awesome. Totally worth it. And now they're bringing all of that to Final Fantasy 1 through 6. I'm super excited about it. I don't know if I'm going to jump in on day one because I'm booked through other games, and other games are on the horizon. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad it's here, and they've done these mods. Go check out that trailer if you want to see more, but it is there. I'm excited about that. It's going to be cool. Are you going to play? Let me know. The last segment of my show, the one I will part ways with you with, is a little bit of a retro discussion. So I've gotten a notification on my Frankenstein modded PlayStation 3 that it will arrive today, the day that this episode goes live, not the day that I'm recording. So this should drop on Monday, April 10th, and at midnight. So if you listen to this in the morning and you're still with me after 38 minutes into the show, later tonight, or today even, I'm going to be doing a live unboxing and a discussion about PlayStation 3 and kind of a walk through the history. I'm going back to 2006. I'm going in time, and I'm going to unbox this Frankenstein as if it was me getting a PlayStation on launch day, a PlayStation 3 in November in 2006. I've got some launch titles on hand, on deck, ready to go. I've got the original 6-axis controller. I'm going to experience PlayStation 3 as if it were launch day. It's going to be fun. I've done some research about the context of the gaming industry that I'll walk through, and I'll give you what Termite was up to around that time, why Termite didn't get a PlayStation 3 at that time, and because it's backwards compatible with PS2 games, I'm going to be talking about and testing what I was playing at that time on the PlayStation 2 in my anticipation for 3. So make sure you like and subscribe to the social media outlets, because that's where you'll know when I'm live and you can catch me there. And of course, I'll have chat. You guys can interact with me live on the show, and I'll answer questions and comments and stuff. It's not a one-way street. It's a conversation. So while I'm going through all of that, of course, I'll be interacting with chat. but it'll also go up to YouTube as video on demand content. So I have all that'll be recorded. You can check it out at your leisure. Just be on alert for it. I'm going to send out a notification probably in the morning that it'll happen later today. And then as it gets closer, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to communicate this because I can't just sit on this thing. I've got kids. It's really, really hard for me to plan ahead. I got 2 children. I got a full-time job. So I can't just drop everything and start playing with it the moment it comes in the mail. But I also can't wait. I don't want to wait until in the evening when it's dinner time. So who knows? Just be on alert. Just check it out. Go to twitch.tv/80Bit Podsmash and follow us there. I'm not going to do YouTube Live, so I'll just go live on Twitch. So that's the main platform, not Facebook. I mean, all of the stuff will be posted. The announcement will be posted with a link to my channel, which is twitch.tv/80Bit Podsmash, 80BIT Podsmash. Go check it out so you can jump in. It's the Frankenstein mod. It's the 40nm RSX chip from a PlayStation 3 Slim grafted onto a launch A01 model, which is the original 60GB premium $600 model that came out in November 2006. So it's going to be super fun to mess with. I can't wait. I'm really excited about it. So what I actually wanted to talk about today with my retro discussion was my history of Mario in video games, because I saw the Mario movie, and so I'm inspired to kind of talk about why the Super Mario movie meant so much to me because of where I am now as a gamer. It does actually start with Mario, and so we're going to kind of just walk through Termite's life and the various highlights of Mario in my world and the things that I've done. We've got a couple of small little stories we'll walk you through. So rewind all the way back to 1989, 1990-ish, that whole year. So it was before the Super Nintendo had come out. My family had a regular original Nintendo, and of course we had Mario and Duck Hunt, and played those. I vaguely remember when we were playing those, but that's a really early memory for me. I was born in 86, so 89 I'd be 3 years old. That's when I believe Mario 3 had come out. Super Mario 3 release date. It came out in 88, October of 1988. I don't remember how we got it, the story around getting it. I just remember there was a trip to a store. My brother might know more, T-Bone, friend of the show. He might remember actually acquiring it. But my first real memory of Mario was playing Super Mario Bros. 3 on the original Nintendo. We had one of those 1970s console TV. It was a piece of furniture. A TV was built into a piece of wood with 2 giant speakers, and it was the whole set. It was all one big unit, and I don't know who made it. It's just old. It had the dials for channels. There was no remote. You had to walk up to it and physically turn a dial, which is, you hear the phrase don't you turn that dial or don't touch that dial. Stay tuned, because the dial on the TV would actually tune the antenna that's attached to your house to a different wavelength and give you a different channel. And so it wasn't nearly as easy to use as TV as it is today. So that's the kind of TV we had. I remember having this, we had the regular D-pad controller that came with the NES, but there was also this, touchpad thing with, a flat octagon on the left instead of a D-pad. It was also a turbo controller, so, I remember that and it not working well and being struggled and, frustrated by it. I remember running into holes and, not being able to jump over stuff and play well. But that was Mario 3, and I remember my parents playing it, I remember T-Bone playing it, and me, of course, and that regular old school Nintendo. I mean, that was, I don't know when we got it, like I said, but at least 88, 89, 1990, that's 3 years, because when the Super Nintendo had come out, that was 91. I don't even know if we got that at launch. It was early in its yeah, we got it for Christmas, I believe. Again, I was 5, so I don't have a good memory of getting a Super Nintendo, but I do remember Super Mario World, and I remember the excitement around it, at least in our house. There was no baby Termite tuned into the industry. I had no clue how the reception of it was around the world. I wasn't watching the news with any memory or intelligence, so I had no clue. But in our house, the arrival of the Super Nintendo was a big deal, and we played Super Mario World. We stayed up way later than we should ever have stayed up, and we're playing Mario, and Yoshi was exciting, a world map, just like Mario 3, but better, all better graphics. You could fly with a cape, ride on Yoshi and all the different color shells, give Yoshi different powers, and it was just super awesome. It was super deep. It had all these extra, you could finish levels in different ways to unlock separate paths through the world. It was very deep. And I just remember like playing so much of Super Mario World. And of course, Mario Kart had come out, and I think we rented it a few times. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so buying games at launch was not a thing we did. But I remember playing the original Mario Kart, having a blast, and trying to play through it. But we never owned it, so I didn't get to like spend a whole lot of time in it. But then I remember Super Mario All-Stars. At this point, I don't know when that game had come out. Let's see. Super Mario All-Stars release date. 1993 in July. So at that point, I'm now 7 years old. So I have a little bit more of a firm understanding of things. I remember every Friday, my mom would take us to the video store, and she would rent movies for the weekend for her and my dad, and we would always be able to check out different video games. So Super Nintendo was prime for us in that regard. We had a Sega Genesis too. So all of these consoles came to us. I don't know how we got a Sega. I don't remember where. Like, I was too little. I just know we didn't have a lot of money. So games only ever came around Christmases and birthdays only, and it was usually like 1 or 2 games a year. So we didn't really amass a huge collection. So renting them was our regular way of playing everything. So I remember renting. I saw Super Mario All-Stars, didn't really know what it was. So like for me, at that age, at that time, before the internet, at that young of an age, the way that I was made aware of a new game coming was I would see it on the shelf at the video game rental store, or the video rental store. I saw the Mario All-Stars on the shelf, and it wasn't rented out. So I was like, what is this? And oh my gosh, I was so excited when I brought that thing home, and it had Mario 1, Mario 2, Lost Levels, which I'd never heard of, and Mario 3. I had played Mario 2 and 3 on the Nintendo. And at that age, like I had now like gone back and played the Nintendo and like had started regularly churning through Mario content. And I remember playing Mario 2 on the NES, and it was super hard. But all of the graphics were remade into what Super Nintendo could do. So it took all that awesome Mario World graphics and applied them to the old games. It was like the first real remaster like that. I just lost my mind with excitement over it. And my brother, Timo, and I just played and played and played. We rented that game so many times. We finally got our own copy. I don't remember if it was a birthday. I think it was. And we just played all the way through it. We conquered entirely Lost Levels. So the story behind what Mario Lost Levels is, in Japan, Super Mario Lost Levels is actually the real Super Mario Bros. 2 that was released in Japan. Of course, with marketing and all of the research Japan Nintendo of Japan has done, they thought and came to the conclusion that that title did not need to be released in North America because it was too hard. And so we got a version of a different game called Doki Doki Panic that was reskinned with Mario, and that was the North American Super Mario Bros. 2, as we know it. And that's why it's so different. That's why it has like character select, and they all have different abilities, and it had such a different vibe. It had a very Arabian kind of vibe to it all. And so that was Mario 2 in the United States. So like Mario All-Stars brought us Lost Levels for the first time overseas to us, and we wanted to play all of it. We were just hungry for Mario levels. And of course, it was extremely hard, but Mario All-Stars had a world select. So if you got to like World 3 and lost all your lives, you could just pick up right at World 3. Whereas the Nintendo version, if you lost all your lives, you start all over, and you have to rely on warp pipes to get you back to where you were. So not as much of a barrier of entry to get through, and just obsessed with Mario. And I'm realizing the show now is actually running pretty late. I don't have time to go through my entire history with Mario. It's only 1993, and I've spent forever on it. So fast forward to 3 years, I guess, to 1996, and Super Mario 64 was shown off. Maybe in 95 it was shown off. At this point, we had gotten like subscriptions to gaming magazines. I'm getting a little more plugged into the industry. There's people at school I'm talking to, and so the hype around the Ultra 64 was real. Super Mario 64 was like the showcase to the screenshots and such, the commercials, go anywhere you want to go, do anything you want to do, full 3D platformer. I lost my ever-loving mind. I believe that there's a select few games that actually drove my excitement to that level of heights. And Mario 64 was definitely a core memory. If you've seen the movie Inside Out, like a core memory of the release of that game. I remember the kiosk being set up in Best Buy with like an array of TVs. It was like 9 TVs all put together, this huge screen. You could play it, and everyone in the store could watch you play. And there was a line of people waiting to play it because it hadn't come out yet. Super Mario 64. It was just awesome. So Mario was a huge part of my life. And so like all of the music, the obsession, like we rented the N64 because we couldn't find one at launch. And my mom tried to get us one for that Christmas. And it's like the best Christmas of my life memory of like being told we weren't going to get one. And her story of finding one at a random store called Roses. I don't know if you're familiar with that. They're kind of gone now, but she happened upon one on a random shopping day. I remember hearing her call every single store every single morning to ask if they've gotten a shipment of N64s in, trying to find us a Nintendo 64 to get us this for Christmas. The mystery of Santa Claus, of course, was gone. We knew she was doing it, and she was at the helm and worked her tail off to find it. And it was absolutely insane to find one. And she got it. She got Super Mario 64. We opened it up Christmas morning. But we had rented it prior to that because you could rent consoles from Blockbuster. And so it was exuberantly expensive to do so. But they did it because we wanted to play it so bad. So like in the gap between release and when we got it for Christmas, we were still able to play it. But we never had our own game save. And so we were like starting over every time or picking up someone else's game save and jumping around the world. We didn't get a really chance to like sink our teeth into it. But I remember like loving Mario 64 so much that we applied our own childhood imagination to the game. So it's like a meta game at this point. It's like, oh, Mario, let's pretend that he's, dad, and I don't know, we're going to play house and like in Mario or like make up imaginary scenarios. And like I see my son doing that now. And of course we have Minecraft, so they can just do all of their imaginative play, whatever. They can apply their own games to games. But back then it was like, I remember playing with T-Bone, you're going to be this person and I'm going to be this person and we're going to go through Mario and we're going to act like these characters. And it was just such a big deal. Like it was the first time you really could explore anywhere you wanted to go, and like it was awesome. And the music and like I said, the mechanics, the game got really hard at the end. Love Mario 64. Super foundational core memory, and that whole vibe leading up to the launch, the anticipation, the excitement, and actually getting the game. Loved Mario 64 so much. And seeing in the Mario movie, even in one of the trailers, there's like a flash of the Bomb Bomb Battlefield, which is level 1. And then in the soundtrack, there's a little like sampling of the music from that world. It was just like hit me in the nostalgia feels. I was like, yes, I remember that. It's so good. So good. And of course, that changed gaming forever. I mean, like, PlayStation had been struggling to create some sort of 3D platformer, and Crash Bandicoot's great, right? But it's very linear. You have to go forward the screen, or sometimes it's side to side, or you go straight back away from the screen. But it wasn't this full, like, open exploration. I mean, Nintendo was the first to do that with Mario. And ever since then, it blew open the doors for big open platformers. And here we are today, like, many, many years later, still reaping the benefits of what that game did. So there you go. That's the show. That's Termite's Buzz. Be sure to check out all of my socials over at 80bitpodsmash.com, landing website with links to all of our stuff: Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, Discord, and don't forget the twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/80bitpodsmash as well. Go check out those things and make sure you like or follow, whatever you want to call the button on Twitch, to find me so you are notified when I go live to play my new, quote-unquote, PlayStation 3 in its full backwards compatibility glory as fixed by Computer Booter. You can go to computerbooter.com or just Google Computer Booter Frankie, and you'll see that Frankie is what we call the mod, Frankenstein mod, that I had done to it. You can find all the details about that. And if you're on my socials, I have links out there already to the repair, the actual work being done on the PlayStation, because those are now on YouTube. The work has happened. He did it live on his stream, on Computer Booter's stream, so you can check out the different stages as I posted them on our socials. And I'm going to do another round of posting those links on our socials, so if you want to follow along now and you're late to the game, because I've been talking about it for the last 4 weeks on the show, but this is your first one, then you'll have it all together in one big post. When I have it and do it, it's going to be great. So I can't wait. And with that, I'm going to see you next week.